Hey sparklers and YouTubers or wherever you're watching me from. So if you guys have been following my series, then you guys know that right now I'm doing prom, which is really super fun. It's a lot of great dues. And my last prom look that I did, which you guys can follow the link to right up here, was the classic French twist, which is a look that I absolutely love because it's perfect on long hair, it's perfect on short hair. It really works on any type of hair. But for my next couple of prom updos, I'm going to need longer hair for a couple of them. So for those of you girls with short hair or long hair or whatever your hair extensions needs are, I thought it would be fair to do a video on how to use hair extensions before I do the hair extensions prom videos. So that is what this video is for. For the first section, we're going to go through just some basic tips on how to buy, how to maintain, and how to wear your hair extensions. And then we're going to do a short tutorial on how to just basically put them in and how to curl them, because I found that a lot of girls have problems with curling their hair extensions, which isn't really that hard. So we'll talk about that and we'll get started right now because I don't want to keep talking. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye guys! Hey guys, alright, so up first on our hair tip agenda for today is buying hair extensions. I would say that the two most important things that it comes down to when you're buying hair extensions are the texture and the color of the hair extensions that you get. This seems pretty obvious, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. So for texture, do get something very similar to your hair, no matter what your favorite hair type is, because you will definitely end up liking them more and they will end up looking more natural if you go for something different. Say you have curly hair and you really want straight hair, so you get straight hair extensions. So you're straightening your own hair, it's never going to turn out as silky straight as hair extensions, because hair extensions usually don't look like a natural straight, they look like a very silky, chemically treated straight. So unless you're thinking of chemically treating your hair silky straight, it's never going to look the same. So definitely do try to get something that's your actual texture. It'll be hard and you'll still have to work with it because it will never actually be your texture, but it'll look much more natural, and that is the goal with hair extensions, even though they are fake. The other thing is definitely color. So a lot of people say that it doesn't matter what color you get your hair extensions because you're just going to dye them anyways. Most people do recommend, and I recommend too, that you get 2 boxes of hair color as soon as you've gotten your extensions, and that you dye your hair color and your hair extensions the same way. That is an awesome idea, and I think everyone should do it. But a lot of people say, then why don't I just get platinum blonde hair extensions, because it really doesn't matter, and it does. And that's because, say you want to dye both your hair and your extensions cocoa brown, like a very deep dark shade of brown, and you have, let's say, a lighter brown shade, and you get your extensions platinum blonde because you're planning on dyeing them. What's going to happen is when you dye your hair and your extensions, even though you're using the same color, they'll turn different shades because the starting shade will affect the outcome shade. So even though you'll never get something perfectly your shade, it definitely always helps to get something as close as possible. So that way it'll be perfect as soon as you dye it. My one other tip for buying hair extensions is, a lot of people ask if getting synthetic hair is totally not worth it and way worse than real hair. I would say yes. I know that real hair is more expensive, but it lasts longer, you can heat style it, and even though synthetic hair can be heat styleable now if it's chemically treated correctly, it breaks much more easily and it always looks more fake. It doesn't feel like real hair, it doesn't swing like real hair. I always say real hair for the win, all day, every day. Woo. Alright, so next up we're going to talk about maintenance. Maintenance is so important because if you did get the long, real human hair extensions, they were probably pretty pricey, and you want them to last as long as possible. All hair extensions have an expiration date, but that expiration date can be extended if you treat your hair extensions as well as you possibly can. I recommend washing your hair extensions about once a week, because if you use any product, which you really shouldn't use any product in them, especially like gels or creams, but if you do use a little bit of hairspray, you need to get that out because eventually it will gunk up your hair extensions and they'll get little white balls throughout them, which is really super icky gross. One of the ways that I recommend doing it, especially if you're going to do it as often as once a week, is to fill up your sink with warm water and then put a shampoo into the actual water and get it pretty sudsy. Don't use a moisturizing shampoo or conditioning shampoo. Just use a normal cleansing shampoo. Top quality, but it doesn't have to be anything special. And so get your water really soapy and then run your hair extensions through it and scrub your hair extensions, but you don't have to like rub them super hard. You always want to avoid rubbing, tugging, pulling at your hair extensions, and then after you've gotten them wet and soapy, lay them out on a towel and then fold the towel over it to basically soak out any moisture without rubbing or scrunching or anything like that. Every day before you put your hair extensions in and after you take them out, you need to brush them. Start from the bottom of the hair, because the way that hair actually gets tangled, whether it's real hair or hair extensions, is when you are running the brush through the hair and you take it out of the hair, that forms knots. So start at the very ends, and once you have all of the ends done, go up like 2 inches and then go all the way up, and it should get really easy. And then fold them. Basically, I like to actually knot mine since they're so long, so I just take the whole strand, put it in one large knot, and then I put each of them in an airtight container because I don't want any moisture getting in them or damaging them, because they will swell, especially if they're synthetic, and you don't want them to do that because it ruins your hair extensions. So you can go ahead and do that, and then you're all good, especially if you do put them in one very large knot, then they won't tangle with each other, which is what I like the best about them. I honestly do recommend getting your hair extensions trimmed about once every 2 months or more if the ends start getting very, very rough. Mine are 18 inches, which is really long, and you guys will see how long they actually are. So clipping 2 inches off of them doesn't take that much length away from them, and they're still very usable, and it greatly exceeds their life expectancy, which is so awesome. I don't recommend using like any of the mend end stuff that you can use on your own hair to mend split ends, because it just doesn't work on hair extensions. Products, bad. Don't sleep in your hair extensions. It ruins them, ruins them. You can't sleep in them. Don't do anything like that. They're really just for wearing and then taking out. So also, try not to style your hair extensions when they're in your hair, because that tugs on them more and tugs on your real hair. It'll damage your real hair, which you definitely don't want to do. And those are my tips for maintenance of your hair extensions. I hope this has helped, and that's what we got today. And now we're going to go on to the actual tutorial, which is super awesome. I hope you guys enjoy that, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye, guys. Hey guys, alright, so what you guys are looking at right now are my extensions. They're real human hair and about 18 inches long, and this is just my shower bar with the scarf over it so that I can hang them. It's the only way that I could figure out how, and it is actually what I recommend for straightening or curling your extensions. I know it's kind of goofy, but it works, so why not? So what we're going to do today is basically just curl them like you saw in the beginning of the video. Always curl your extensions or straighten your extensions away from your head, so not already attached to your head. So hang them up on something like this, and then you need to get them wet. Mine are naturally straight, so it's a little harder to curl them. But go ahead and just take a brush with warm water on it and very gently brush it through. They're easier to break when they're wet, so be very gentle and already have them brushed through so that they're not hard to brush once you have your wet brush. All right, now go ahead and do that. All right. So go ahead and just take your wet brush and go back and forth. Do it on both sides to get the whole thing wet. And basically just wet down your hair. And then while it's still wet, you can go ahead and make your first curl. So take your curling iron and set it on whatever heat it is that your instructions say. Make sure that you stick to the guidelines. And for the smaller pieces, you can divide them into 2 or 3 sections, clamp down towards the bottom, and then just start winding upwards. Don't hold it for very long at all, and especially since I'm using this tiny barrel iron, I'm not going to hold for very long at all. Alright, now you need to wait for your hair to dry. It shouldn't be curly at this point, but it should have a little bit of a curl in it. Basically, this is going to make it more pliable or more ready to curl when we're ready to actually put the curl that we're going to have holding in our hair in it. So now wait a couple minutes for your hair to dry. Alright, now wait for them to dry and then finger comb them out and decide if you like the level of curliness. I do, but it's really mostly towards the ends, and I want it a little bit more in the midsection. So now I'm going to take my curling iron and just curl from about here to here to give it a little bit more body. Then I'll be all done. And then once they're all brushed out, they should look something like this. Now you're all done with your extensions, and we just need to work on attaching them. So now I'm going to go back to my room, pin up my hair on top of my head, and then we'll get started with that. Alright, pin up most of your hair, basically the crown of your head, especially for the look that you guys saw in the beginning of this video. Then take one of your sheaths of hair, one of the bigger ones, and pin it about an inch below the part. Basically, just open up the snaps, and then close them shut. Try not to rustle your hair too much, especially because we're putting something over the top. Then take your second large sheath, put it over the first one, and put it right where your hair goes up, right on that part line. Snap all the plugs in place, rustle it around a little bit just to make sure that it'll all stay in place, and then once you know that it's stable, you can go ahead and let your hair down and let it fall over the top. Adjust your hair over the top to make sure that there isn't a ridge or a crease where the extensions meet your head. Now for creating the bump in the back of the head. Take your fingers and run them behind your ears, gathering any hair that sits on top of your extensions. Run your hands along the sides to make sure that you can't feel the corners or the actual edges of the extensions. Once you have your hair gathered, poof it up a little bit, and then run your hands over again, just to make sure you can't feel the extensions or the edges of the extensions. And if you can, just use the hair to cover them up. And then take bobby pins and in an X formation, pin all of the hair that you're holding up in your hand in place like this. Alright guys, so this is what I ended up doing. Just like any hair look, it takes a little bit of experimenting for your own personal taste and style. I ended up putting one weft right up here so that it could hang down right in front of my shoulder, which I thought gave it a little bit more natural of a look, but you guys can obviously do whatever you want. As I've said before, I'm not really a pro at hair extensions, but I got them and I'm going to use them in my future videos, so I thought I would just give you a short tutorial on some tips about hair extensions and just a really short tutorial on how to put them in and how to wear. Alright guys, so I know that was super long, so believe me, I'm not going to talk forever, I promise. So you guys can check me out on SparkNotes, check me out on YouTube, you guys can subscribe up there, like down there, comment if you have suggestions or requests or anything like that. I love you guys can follow me on Twitter. This was a very long video. I know, believe me, I sat in front of a camera and made it. It was terrible. Okay, I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys next week for more prom hair fun. Bye guys.